do. So maybe like I'll figure out a way to meld the two like eventually. But I then went to grad school for theater production. And while I was there, one of the things I had to study was costume design. And I also studied costume design while I was in undergrad. And I designed some of the plays, some of the costumes for the characters. And I always loved that. And this one costume designer that I was interning for at the time, or shadowing, I guess I was shadowing her, it was called, always used contemporary clothes and put the contemporary clothes on her characters. And I just thought it was really interesting because I've always loved styling and making my own clothes and sewing and work. I love contemporary clothes. I love like finding clothes on a good deal. I love working with clothes under 100, accessories under 100. That's kind of always been like my sweet spot. And I started doing it for myself and like styling myself in the contemporary outfits I was making and posting them on an Instagram account, and really not being like, not following other influencers. Sorry guys, I don't know how to turn off my like messages. I can only know how to individually put like do not disturb. I don't know how to do it as a group, but I'm really sorry. It's like super loud. Anyways, I so I started styling and posting photos of myself on Instagram. I called the account Honestly Kate because since my name is Katie Sands, I didn't want people to look me up in the theater world and see that I had like the social media presence, just because at the time it was kind of frowned upon. And it still is in a lot of industries, the influencer industry. I'd say pre-corona, like the before, was almost frowned upon, and now like in corona, because we're not post corona like happening, it's been real, like industries are really turning their focus around and realizing that this industry is imperative for their own brands and their own marketing tools to move forward, that this is the only way that those brands, all brands, food, fitness, fashion, finance, are going to be seen if we're not meeting in person. So I think that's been one positive, if I can say any positives that have come out of that, is for this industry. We've realized how imperative and necessary this industry is for the next generation. So I started posting photos of myself, and it kind of caught on, and people started following. We started gaining a following like organically, like started super small, like with 0, and then it started growing, and I finally made it open to the public. And about, I'd say, it was like 6 or 8 months into it, I got a call from a online retailer, Shopbop, asking me to style their spring campaign. And that was kind of the first jumpstart into the now like world of Honestly Kate. They asked me what my rates were, and I didn't even know what that meant. They asked me for my contract. I didn't even have a contract. So I kind of had to work backwards and realize that the entire industry, 99% of it, is really all business related, like every other industry. And the 1% is like the content you see on the outside. So I really had to work backwards because I had no business degree. Like I took math and science at our liberal arts school, but I really didn't study anything financial related. So that was really difficult, and kind of figuring out that I could make this a business and how to monetize the business. And I graduated from my grad program about 6 months after I had started, and I realized I was running a small business at the time. So I kept it as a small business and worked other jobs for about a year. And then I finally opened the blog aspect of it. Like I always had the domain, but I never posted anything on it. And then I continued and kept going with it until I got to where I am today. And in between that, I started doing a lot of little TV segments, style segments, where I was playing myself, which was weird for me because I was always used to playing a character, like who had a script, who had a costume, knew like exactly what they were saying. And while I was playing myself, I'm like, oh shit, like I have no idea what I'm doing. I have nothing memorized. They just want me to talk freely on live TV. I've never done that before, but it really helped me kind of in a PR aspect grow my brand and get a wider audience. And so I've been continuing to do that. And now it's been almost 3 years later, and I'm still doing TV segments. I've now honed into one show, which is Amazon's TV segments, TV show, TV Live. And I'm now creating my own collection with a different couple of brands, which I can talk about one of them because it's more open. And I'm continuing to like post my partnerships with different brands and interact with the audience. And I think it's really interesting because my whole brand couldn't be where it is without the audience. It's fully driven by my audience. And I think that it's really important, especially now people are seeing it more than ever, realizing if they don't know their audience well and if they don't interact with their audience, it can really crash and burn really hard. So that's kind of like a million things I just said in like 5 minutes. But is there anything specific you guys want to focus on that I can get into a little deeper?
Now that we can see all your faces, we know that has great ideas.
I think that a question that I had was just like, what do you do when you feel like your work is kind of more of a chore, like when you're uninspired and just like don't really know where to go from there?
You know what? I think that happens to everyone when their passion project becomes their full-time job. And that's kind of why in the beginning I was like, this is something that's really fun for me that I'm doing on the side that helps my creative outlet, like, and my creative juices flow. This is not something that I would ever want to be my full-time job because I don't want to think of it as work. And I kind of got to a point where I didn't really have a choice anymore, where it was my work and I couldn't handle anything else on the side besides what I was doing with Honestly Kate. And I had to make like a decision in my head. I either continue with my blog and continue my partnerships, or I just say, nope, not doing this, gonna deactivate my account and continue with a different corporate job. Or I say, let me see how I can do it and let me see what I can do and grow the business and make it what it is right now. And while doing that, I always made sure that I was the creative side of it. And so that I didn't feel stuck or didn't feel in a rut. I think to get like really nitty gritty, like the way that you can make that happen is to the days you are really inspired, which of course isn't every day. I don't wake up every day and say like, oh, I'm going to put a million outfits together. Like that's what I want to do. Like, of course not. That no one wakes up like that, like wants to do their hair or put on makeup. So the days that I do feel really inspired, I try to create as much content on that day as possible so that I have it for as many days or weeks as I can. And I have a journal. So anytime I have an idea or anytime I'm inspired by someone else, I write down the idea so that those days where I am feeling inspired and want to make videos and make content, I look back on the journal. I'm like, oh, I wanted to do that. I wanted to like start a TikTok. I wanted to film more mental health advocacy videos. There's all things I want to do. So while I have this energy and this creative flow, let me do it today so that I will have it for the next few days. And I even before Corona happened, when I would shoot for projects that my team, so I have an agent and we have an assistant that works for both of us. My team like sets up my partnerships now, which is great because they now really handle the business side of things where I can handle the creative, which has been a game changer for me because when I was trying to do both, which everyone has to go through at least for a year, which is great because now I understand that side a lot more. So when they ask me questions, I can be like, yes to that, no to that. I understand it, but it gives me a lot more creative freedom to just create the content and not worry about, oh, did I put that in the contract? Or there's like a lot of words you can throw around, but like there's so many things like whitelisting for advertising. And I have to make sure like I don't have to think about, oh shoot, I can't work with that hair brand because I'm working with another hair brand a week later. Like she takes care of all of that, which is really nice. But before that, it was really difficult. Like, cause there was days where I was just doing the business side of things and I didn't even have time to create the content I needed. But I would always say like, okay, Wednesdays are my days to work with a photographer and shoot all my partnerships for the next month. So I can get them out of the way, have them stored. I don't have to worry about it. That way, if I wake up feeling really uninspired or just wake up like feeling sick or lethargic or something, I don't have to think about creating the content. But I think everyone goes through lulls. Like it's like riding a wave, right? With any job, like there's days my brother is in finance and he's like, I don't want to be talking about this today. Like this is horrible. I'm talking about numbers and moving these really wealthy companies around while other people are struggling. Like, I don't want to do this, but I don't have a choice. So I try to think about it like that and create a very, I wish I could show you my calendar, but it's downstairs. I have like a very intense calendar where it says like, today you need to do X, Y, and Z tasks. Tomorrow you need to talk to X, Y, and Z people, so that I'm like, okay, I have to get those done. Those are my jobs for the day. Does that answer it? I feel like I was kind of all over.
Yeah, super helpful.
Okay, because I wouldn't worry. Like, if you're someone who wants to start your own blog or page, and there's so many people, I'll send it to you guys, but I just wrote a post about it. Holly, I'll send it to you after, so you can send it to the class, about like tips to starting your own personal brand. And it can apply to anything, from if you want to be in the influencer industry. And I just want to say now, before I forget, being in the influencer digital creator space does not mean that you have to be in front of the camera. There are so many jobs that are in the space that people just don't know about because it's such a new industry. There's just no text written about it. To name a few, you can be on the agent side where you're someone's manager. You can be on the PR side, so you represent the brands or you represent the people from a PR standpoint. You can be on the creative side where you're an editor and you're creating videos and content for people. You can be on the branding side, so you're like creating people's personal brands. There's just so much that goes into it. You can be on the photography side, you can be on the styling side, you can be on the testing side. Like, if I wasn't in front of the camera, I would definitely want to be like a product tester for a beauty brand. There's so much that goes into it. The same way with any job in any industry, there's a lot of different roles and positions you can have. Yeah, but I'll be sure to send it to Holly so that you guys can see, like, I put together 10 tips because I'm always asked, like, oh, I want to start this, but I don't really know where to start, of things you should like go through every day. And if you make sure you're following those tips, hopefully it really helped me, so I think it will help other people.
Awesome. Thanks. I will definitely share that to everybody.
Yeah.
I like that.
Anyone else want me to focus on anything specific?
I have a question. So
Yeah.
what like how do you keep up with like current content and like stuff that's like trending, and like how do you like keep up, I guess, with the trends?
Okay, kind of twofold. I really try not to follow trends when it comes to fashion or beauty. Just because I have my own style, and the products I've been using for makeup and skincare are products I've used and loved forever. And if I do work with a new brand that's launching a product, I make sure I have it tested, even if it's like comes in like a really weird bottle that it's not going to come in. I'll make sure they send me the actual product at least 2 months before I talk about it to see if I like it. But for like fashion trends, I really try not to follow it. It's more so for TV. If they say like, okay, we know the hottest trends right now are tie-dye, neon colors, polka dots, and bucket hats. Okay, so they give me the trends and I'm like, okay, thanks for letting me know the hottest trends. Like, I was already aware because I'm on Instagram, I'm like alive. And I'll pick the pieces that I would wear on a normal day that fall in that trend. So I'll like always pick pieces that I would personally wear that might fall in that trend. Does that make sense? Like, instead of being like, oh, I have to wear neon now because it's really like popular, I'll say like, okay, what would I wear in that category? But I would say I do follow trends when it comes to like new social practices and new social websites. So I always like try to read as much as I can and just, like follow the times. I'm like, okay, what's like the hottest website platform right now? What's obviously with TikTok, when it happened, I was like, okay, what can I learn about TikTok? Why is TikTok popular, and what are the technology trends in that, and what are going to be others that are moving forward, so that I'm just like on top of my game with that. Like, when I heard this platform called Patreon, I made sure I read all about it and put myself on it. Even if I'm not active publicly, I always put myself on the social and tech trends so that I just know what they are and why they're popular. So I'd say with technology, I always try to stay really on trend. or at least try it out myself, even if it's something that I'm not going to use. And then with fashion and beauty, I try to stick to just like things I like in general and trust my gut.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Of course. I think we can also, maybe something we can focus on, and then you guys can always come in and let me know if you have other questions. But I think it's really interesting what's going on right now with the digital space, with COVID happening, because like I was saying before, Instagram algorithm, I'm not just Instagram, I just use that as an example because it's my biggest platform, but social in general is up 18%, which is like astronomically high. The highest it's ever been before was at 10%, to put it into perspective. So it's 8 points higher. So people are on their phones. I know this like can seem pretty obvious, like we're at home, we're on our phones, we're on our screens, but the fact that people are actually taking the time and watching people's videos for more than 5 seconds is like a huge increase, because people are always like scrolling through, and like of course you're still doing that at some point, but their algorithm as a whole saw how much increase there was on social media. So I think it's been really good for a lot of people and for a lot of brands, and it's been really bad for a lot of people and a lot of brands, because people are watching you a lot more, so you have to be a lot more cognizant of what you're talking about and what you're posting. People that have followed you for years maybe just swiped through your photos and saw that they liked your outfits or whatever, your lifestyle, and now they're seeing it and they're paying way more attention to what you're actually talking about, and maybe they don't agree with it. So I think people and brands are getting to know their audience on such a deeper level, which is kind of scary, because I think that's just the way we're headed. And I think it scares a lot of people that maybe didn't take the social responsibility before. And I think for the people that have and continue to do good, it's been a really big positive. But it'll be really interesting to see the dynamic and how it changes. Because I know there was just an article about it in the Post, and kind of it was like a very negative article on this industry. And there's been a lot of articles, but that's the one I read most recently. But you know what I always say, like focus on the positives. Like the more you focus on the negatives and the negative people in the space, the more views they're going to get. So you're actually doing the opposite of what like you think you're doing. So I will always write to people and I'm like, just spread positivity, like focus on these people, they're doing so much good, and I'll send them examples, because in every industry you're going to get people that disagree with you. But I think as long as you're true to your gut and understand your audience and understand the people that the community you built, you're going to thrive.
Definitely is like, so in terms of social listening, did you hear from your audience that, I know that you have a new kind of segment on mental health that you've been putting out there. Did you kind of get from that audience perspective that that's what people were looking for?
Yeah, so I think for mental health in general, I've been focusing on mental health awareness advocacy for about a year now, but I myself was really scared to talk about it, not because I thought anyone was going to judge me for my own anxieties or insecurities. I just thought people were going to judge me and say, well, you're not an expert, you're not a doctor, who are you to start talking about mental health? That's where I was like afraid of. I didn't care if people were like, oh, she goes to a therapist, she's crazy. Like, I don't care about that, because I've always wanted to destigmatize mental health and mental illness and therapy. It was more that, why should I be the one talking about it when there's so many professionals in the field that aren't speaking about it? So what I did was last May, I started a campaign called My May, where I personally partnered with experts in the field. I told them things that I was either worried about or didn't understand in the field and thought other people would want to hear about, and asked them if they would come on my platform and speak to it. So I had different therapists come on. I had different small wellness studios and people that are owners of that come on. I had different nutritionists come on, because they talk about how much nutrition can also affect your mental health. And I just had them come and speak. And I said, listen, I have this big platform and I feel like a responsibility to it. And I'm not an expert in this field. It's something I'm really interested in, but I'm really curious to hear your thoughts. And a lot of them were really comfortable sharing. So it kind of, the second I started sharing about mental health, especially through a therapist, people I recognized how much it resonated with my audience, and I just continued to share it. And I continue to say, these are the things I struggle with work, with my personal life, with my family, with money, which I know so many people are uncomfortable speaking about. And what are ways that what are things you would tell people to combat those insecurities and anxieties? And I continue to do it. And so I had, obviously, COVID is a very high anxiety subject to begin with. And anyone who dealt with anything before, it's now heightened times 10, right? So I was like, said to my therapist, I'm like, okay, it's great you've been writing articles and it's great you've been like commenting on everything I've been posting, but would you be comfortable actually going live with me and sharing your story so people can actually tune in? Because I know therapy is really expensive. A lot of insurance doesn't cover it. And people really need help right now. So how can we take my platform and share it with so many? I like have this platform with following, so why can't we share it with everyone? So she agreed to it, which is really just so generous to her, donate her time. And we had these live therapy sessions, and I had people send in questions. Sorry, I have 7 people in my house right now, so it's like a little wild, but I have people send in questions and things that they want to focus on so that they can listen in, and it's not just my personal issues, it's more broad, and people can send in questions and ask their own. It's been really, really, I think, helpful, and it's helped grow my audience and my platform to a much larger community, not just fashion.
Yeah, definitely. I just thought it was very timely in terms of where we're at in terms of COVID, and very smart, because we talk about kind of being creative, right? We can talk about target audience and gender and age, location, but going to those deeper levels of interest are really what's going to make.
And I think when you target your audience, that like people, let me just like put it clear. People can buy followers, people can buy bots, they can buy likes, whatever, the whole thing. But when you're working with a brand, you can't lie about anything. They see it, every single thing. So anyone who has done that, it's going to come back to haunt them in some way. Because anytime I have to send my analytics to a brand, I have to screenshot every single thing. Like, it's not like I can be like, oh yeah, we got a lot of likes or comments on, like, I have to actually send it to them. So I think target audience is like so important, knowing who you're speaking to, knowing how to say to a brand, hey, I know you want to do it this way, but for my audience, I think it would be better as a mirror selfie than a high-res photo. I think it will speak better to my audience if I come on and talk and do a video. You know your audience best if you really pay attention to them, and you know what's going to target them to want to buy different products. So I think it's important to be really honest with the partners and brands you're working with, and also how, obviously, the word pivot is like the strongest word right now in America, but I think it's really important not just to know how to pivot, but also just like to know how to get creative and move with the times. There's so many people that feel stuck, and I know so many of my colleagues only like to take high-res images, and they can't work with a photographer right now, obviously, so they just have gone dark and haven't posted anything. But there's ways that you can work with your creativity and be like, okay, clearly it's going to look silly if I'm posting a high-res photo taken on a camera when people know I'm not with anyone taking it on my camera. So what can I do that actually makes sense? And I always say to those like friends of mine, I'm like, just try it. Just like try taking a photo, selfie, or try doing something. Like, you never know, your audience might resonate with it more than you think.
Definitely. All right. Do you have any more questions so I don't have to keep asking them? If anyone else wants to jump in, or if you have more than one question, that's fine.
What made you choose Instagram?
So it's like such a happy accident. It wasn't on purpose. When I first downloaded Instagram, I thought it was an editing app. So I was posting all my photos. Well, it was. I didn't think it was. It was an editing app. Like, you could do different colors and different tones. And I just thought it was really fun. So I started posting all my photos on there for my friends, for myself, not for it to have a following or a community at all. And it wasn't until about a year later, I think, when Instagram made it so that you can have like a business profile, that it became what it is. So it was kind of a happy accident, but once I realized that it was something that I could turn into a business and monetize, then I really hunkered down and said, like, okay, I need to get every business book that I possibly can get my hands on. I need to study how I make this into a real business and not just like a creative passion project, and get down and dirty to it. So I know that Instagram has obviously now been around for years, but I really don't think any industry is too saturated for more people. I think that if you bring your own passion to something you love, whether it's fashion, fitness, finance, furniture, like someone, it's going to resonate with someone. So I always say, like, don't try to be everything for everyone. Just try to be something for someone. And if that someone's yourself, that's okay too, because that will hopefully resonate with one other person, and then they'll share it with another person, and like so forth. I think that brands don't happen and don't build themselves overnight. It can be frustrating, but try to focus your energy in a few other places so that you don't just feel like, oh, like I'm not gaining followers or I'm not doing this. Like, it should be a passion. And if it's not, then step away for a moment and do something else.
I know we have that dreaded 9-minute clock ticking now, unfortunately.
Oh, shoot.
But if anyone else has a few more questions, I think we can sneak them in. We gotta act fast with this remaining meeting time. Clock ticking.
What does like your daily schedule usually consist of? Because I know you said that some days are like you're more creative than others. So I was just curious, like you kind of have like I have to get so much done each day, or if it's just like I have to get this done this week.
So I always like say I work in like an organized chaos, because I have a very creative brain that doesn't like to like sit down at my desk and do all my work. But I realized, like, from being in university and other jobs I worked at, that I thrive on structure. So I had to figure out a way to make it work for this like creative outlet. So I tried to make it that every Monday and Wednesday were days that I had meetings with people. So whether I was meeting new brands, had phone meetings, had to bring brands back clothes or get clothes or vice versa, whatever I was doing, those were the days I did that. So that really filled my entire day. So I was like, okay, anytime I have to run around an errand or go to a meeting or get a late lunch with someone to talk about the project we're working on, it has to be either Monday or Wednesday. I can't do it any other day. Tuesdays were usually the days I say, okay, Tuesdays I have to shoot all my content for my projects. I have to send them in usually a week before for approval. So Tuesdays I'll make sure I'll get everything done for the next week, whether it's a story, whether it's paid partnerships, whether it's just organic content. I'll get that done on Tuesday. I'll tell my photographer, Tuesday at 10 a.m. you meet me at this place and we're going to go to these 10 locations. And then on Thursdays and Fridays, Fridays I always make my email day no matter what. I'm always on the go, so I miss a lot of emails. So I'll like flag a million emails and come back to it Friday. So Fridays are my days I sit at my computer, I do not leave, and I answer everyone's email. At least I try to. And if I finish the emails, I try to head to the DMs after. And then Thursdays are my miscellaneous day. So if I didn't get to finish a shoot, if it started raining during a shoot, if something happened, like those are my days. That's my day to like fit in whatever I need. If someone had to cancel a meeting because they were sick, I say, no problem, switch it to Thursday. So that was kind of pre what's going on now. And now it's kind of a free for all because everyone knows where I am, right? I'm only at home. I haven't left my home in 8 weeks. And it's kind of crazy because I'm busier than ever because everyone knows I'm here. So they can reach me at any time. It's not like my agent's like, oh, she's in a meeting. Like, she knows I'm here. So it's kind of been like a lot busier in a lot of ways for me, which I don't want to complain about because I'd rather be busy than not. But it's also a little bit stressful because my days are a lot more packed because I'm not going anywhere. So I'm talking to a lot more people a day than I normally would.
Awesome. That's why I always email on Fridays to teach in our class. So I know she's going to the email that day. I want to have one more question here so we don't have to have Kate speed talking for multiple. And if you have more questions, just email them to me and we always do a great job of, I will email it to her and she'll email them back to me and you'll get that answer. But if anyone wants to end on one solid question.
Has anyone started their own personal brand? No? Does anyone want to?
I mean, kind of. I feel like everyone kind of like has like, oh, I could be Instagram like famous, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like a dream, but
Well, I always say just like put out your passion, like and do it in any kind of content, whether it's video, picture, writing, and put it out there and see what kind of response you get. Like I always thought, I was like, oh, people will only like my pictures if I'm like fully styled and full glam and all this stuff. And the second I started posting like selfies and real time videos, I was like, oh, I was so wrong this whole time. Like I didn't know this actually resonated a lot stronger with people. So I always say just like put out anything you make or create, whether you think it's boring or silly or whatever, and you never know, it might really speak to someone else.
I think that's why TikTok is so popular, because it really is people doing whatever the heck they want.
TikTok is so funny, honestly. Like, I don't ever think I'm going to be big on TikTok in any way, but just the fact that it like makes me laugh so hard and I can watch other people and I'm like, oh my God, people are so freaking creative. I had no idea. Like, it's just a funny thing. And I think it's a really positive platform because it's all just like funny videos, right? And nothing's very negative on there, at least not that I've come across so far. But I think if there's going to be more platforms similar to TikTok in the future, because TikTok is like how my Vine was back in the day. Like I loved watching Vines and like making Vines, but it didn't last long, but it was fun while it lasted.
I think that's what TikTok's going to be too. Sorry to all you little TikTokers.
I think the same thing.
The Gen Zers who are like, what's Vine? I don't remember that.
It's TikTok. It's the same exact thing. But it wasn't like dances. It was more just like being really funny and like crazy and then like getting off. It wasn't like any provocative dances.
Also, like the dances that I could do in high school and middle school were like Soldier Boy rather than.
Yeah, and that was really hard. Like Soldier Boy is a hard one. Like.
Awesome. Well, I guess we'll just, rather than rushing through anything else, if you guys have any more questions about how to dance Soldier Boy or just influencer or social media relevant, send them to me and I'll send them over to Katie. And thank you as always for being such a great speaker.
For having me. I didn't even get into anything TV related because that's like a totally different boat. So if you have any questions, you can message me or email them. So thank you guys so much for having me. It's always so fun to talk to classes because I wish I had some insight kind of into the world when I was where you guys are right now. So it always also helps me to like figure out what I actually do and how to communicate what I'm doing better. So thank you.
Awesome. And everybody else, this is our last class. So
oh my gosh.
I know you've come at a sad and I guess they're probably really happy to get this semester freaking over with grid. But as you guys know, final projects due Friday. Exciting times. So submit those. Tell me any questions that you have on those. But it's been an honor and a pleasure to be your virtual teacher. Hopefully we'll all get to see each other live and in person next semester. Yeah, that's all I got for you. And thank you guys for showing your faces in your pajamas. I know that can be difficult. Thanks for not following the peer pressure of the black box. I'll see you guys all later.
Bye.
Thank you.